Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brainy Bookshelf. Today we're diving into a question that's probably crossed all our minds at some point. Why do we do what we do? Why do humans behave the way they do, sometimes incredibly kind and compassionate, and other times shockingly cruel? It's a huge question, right? And it's one that Robert Sapolsky tackles head-on in his groundbreaking book, Behave: The Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst. If you've ever found yourself wondering about the complex motivations behind human actions, then you're in the right place. Now, Behave isn't your typical psychology book. Sapolsky, who's a Stanford professor and a neuroscientist, takes us on an epic journey. He doesn't just look at one part of human behavior, he explores everything that leads up to a specific action. He argues that understanding why we do something means looking at the seconds before, the minutes and hours, the days and years, and even millions of years of evolution. It's mind-bending in the best possible way. This book is a deep dive, a true intellectual adventure. Sapolsky has this incredible ability to make complex scientific ideas understandable and even entertaining. He brings in neuroscience, genetics, anthropology, psychology, sociology, pretty much every field that tries to explain human action. It's like getting a masterclass in human nature from one of the smartest people on the planet. So, what's the central idea that drives this entire book? Sapolsky starts with a deceptively simple question. If you see a behavior, let's say, someone pulls a trigger, or helps a stranger, what happened 1 second before that behavior? Sounds easy, right? But he doesn't stop there. He then asks, okay, but what happened a few minutes before that second? What about a few hours? A few days? A few years? What about the person's childhood? Their culture? And even deeper, what about the evolution of our species over millions of years? This concept is what I call the infinite regression of behavior. Sapolsky teaches us that every action, every decision, every thought, is the culmination of countless factors that stretch back in time. It's not just one cause, it's a whole chain of events, from tiny brain chemicals to massive cultural shifts. Why is this kind of thinking so important? Because, let's be honest, in our daily lives, we often look for simple answers. Someone does something bad, and we might immediately think, they're just a bad person. Someone does something good, and we say, they're a saint. But Sapolsky argues that these simple labels miss the entire story. He wants us to move beyond these black and white judgments. He wants us to understand that complex behaviors have complex origins. It's not about excusing bad behavior, but about understanding its roots so we can address it more effectively, whether it's in criminal justice, social policy, or even just our personal relationships. This book challenges us to be more empathetic and more nuanced in our thinking about human actions. It makes you realize that even the most seemingly simple action has layers upon layers of biological, psychological, and social history behind it. Over the next part of your video structure, e.g., couple of hours, few videos, we're going to break down Sapolsky's fascinating framework. We'll explore these different timescales in detail. The immediate past. What happens in your brain and body in the milliseconds before an action? The recent past. How do your experiences in the last few hours or days influence your choices? The personal past. How does your childhood, your culture, and your life experiences shape who you are today? And finally, the distant past. How does our ancient evolutionary history influence our most fundamental behaviors? Get ready, because this is going to be a deep dive. Behave is a powerful book that will change the way you look at yourself, at others, and at the world. It's a book that, once you read it, you can't unread. So, grab a notebook, maybe a cup of coffee, and let's explore the incredible complexities of human behavior together. If you're excited about this journey, hit that like button, subscribe to Brainy Bookshelf for more deep dives into fascinating books, and let's unravel the mystery of why we do what we do. Alright, so we've set the stage, understanding that behavior is a deeply layered phenomenon. Now, let's zoom in on the very first layer Sapolsky dissects. The immediate past. We're talking about what happens in the milliseconds, the blink of an eye, right before an action takes place. This is where the magic, or perhaps the madness, of our brains truly comes alive. Imagine a simple scenario. You hear a loud, unexpected noise, maybe a car horn blares right next to you. What's your immediate reaction? You probably flinch, your shoulders might jump up, maybe you gasp. This isn't a conscious decision, it's an automatic response. Sapolsky explains that in that tiny fraction of a second, a complex ballet of electrical and chemical signals explodes in your brain. Specifically, we're talking about neurons firing. These are the basic building blocks of our brain, like tiny wires that send messages. When you hear that loud noise, sensory neurons instantly relay that information to specific parts of your brain. Your amygdala, for instance, which is our brain's alarm system, lights up immediately. It's designed to detect threats and initiate rapid responses, even before your conscious mind fully registers what's happening. This isn't just about fear, though. Any sudden stimulus, positive or negative, triggers these instantaneous neural cascades. Think about seeing a delicious piece of cake. Certain reward pathways in your brain might activate instantly, making you want to reach for it, all before you've even had a proper thought about it. But it's not just electrical signals, it's also about the powerful chemical messengers flooding our bodies, hormones. These are like the supporting cast that amplifies or dampens our immediate reactions. Take that loud noise again. Almost simultaneously with the neural firing, your adrenal glands might pump out adrenaline and cortisol. You know that feeling. Your heart races, your breath quickens, your senses sharpen. This is your body preparing for fight or flight, an ancient survival mechanism. These hormones can drastically alter how you perceive a situation and how you react in that precise moment. If your system is already pumped full of stress hormones from, say, a tough morning, your immediate reaction to a minor inconvenience might be far more aggressive than if you were relaxed. Conversely, hormones like oxytocin, often called the love hormone, can promote feelings of trust and bonding, making you more likely to react with empathy in social situations. The point is, these powerful chemicals are shaping your split-second decisions, often without your conscious awareness. And it's not just what's happening inside your head. The immediate environment plays a critical role too. Imagine walking down a dark alley versus a brightly lit park. If you hear a sudden noise in the alley, your immediate neural and hormonal response will likely be one of heightened fear and vigilance. In the park, that same noise might barely register or elicit a mild curiosity. The context of your surroundings provides vital cues that your brain uses to interpret and react to stimuli. Think about social cues too. If you're in a formal meeting and someone makes a slightly off-color joke, your immediate internal reaction might be different than if you were among close friends. Your brain rapidly processes these contextual clues to adjust your instantaneous behavior. Are there other people present? What are their expressions? Is it a safe or dangerous situation? All of this information is processed incredibly quickly, influencing the precise way you respond in that single second. Sapolsky uses this deep dive into the first second to immediately challenge our simplistic notions of blame. When someone reacts impulsively, it's easy to say, they chose to do that. But he shows us that in that micro moment, a cascade of automatic, biological processes is already in motion, shaped by immediate sensory input, internal chemistry, and environmental context. It's not to absolve responsibility, but to underscore the immense complexity of even the simplest, quickest behaviors. This initial layer is just the tip of the iceberg, a foundation. It tells us that our brains are constantly reacting and adapting in real time, influenced by factors beyond our immediate conscious control. So, we've just looked at the lightning-fast reactions that happen in a mere second. But our behavior isn't just about those immediate sparks. Sapolsky then expands our view, asking us to consider what's been happening in the hours, or even days, leading up to a particular action. This is where things get even more interesting, as we explore how our recent experiences can subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, prime us for certain responses. Think about how you feel after a really good night's sleep versus a night when you've barely closed your eyes. It's a huge difference, right? When you're well rested, you might be more patient, more forgiving, and better at solving problems. But if you're severely sleep deprived, even a small annoyance can feel like a huge provocation. You might snap at someone, make a careless mistake, or just generally be more irritable. This isn't a conscious choice to be grumpy, it's a direct consequence of your brain and body being under stress from lack of rest. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for impulse control and rational thought, literally doesn't work as well when you're tired. It's like trying to run a marathon on fumes. Then there are the recent events that pile up. Imagine you've had a truly awful morning, you spilled coffee, got stuck in traffic, and then had a difficult conversation at work. By the time you get home, even a minor comment from a family member could trigger an outsized emotional reaction, a burst of anger or frustration that feels disproportionate to the actual event. That's because your emotional bucket is already full, or even overflowing, from the day's stressors. Your brain is in a heightened state of alert or irritation, making it more likely to interpret ambiguous situations negatively. On the flip side, if you've just received great news, maybe a promotion or a pleasant surprise, you might be radiating positive energy, making you more likely to respond to others with generosity and kindness. Your mood, heavily influenced by recent happenings, acts like a filter through which you process new information. Hormones play a role here too, but on a slightly longer timeline. While adrenaline gives us that immediate jolt, other hormones can have more prolonged effects. For example, consistently high levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, over several hours or days can make you more anxious, withdrawn, or even prone to aggressive outbursts. It keeps your system on high alert, wearing down your emotional regulation. Similarly, if you've been spending a lot of time in a positive social environment, levels of feel-good hormones might be slightly elevated, contributing to a more optimistic and cooperative mindset. This shows us that the chemical environment inside our bodies isn't static. It shifts and flows based on our recent experiences, subtly nudging our default emotional states. Sapolsky emphasizes that these recent past factors create a kind of preparedness for certain behaviors. You're not consciously deciding to be tired and irritable, or well-rested and patient. Instead, your physiological and emotional state, shaped by the last few hours or days, sets the stage. It makes you more vulnerable to certain reactions and less so to others. It's a powerful reminder that our behavior is often less about conscious will in the moment, and more about the sum total of our immediate and recent past. It's like a domino effect, where each preceding event tilts us towards a particular outcome. Alright, we've explored the split-second neural firings and how our recent hours and days can set the stage for our actions. Now, Sapolsky takes us on an even longer journey through time, asking, what about the years of our lives? How do our childhood, our adolescence, and the culture we grow up in shape the very foundations of our behavior? This is where the story of who we become really deepens. Think about the profound impact of your upbringing. Were you raised in a household where emotions were openly expressed, or where they were suppressed? Was discipline harsh or nurturing? Sapolsky emphasizes that these early experiences don't just teach us lessons, they literally help wire our brains. The neural pathways that govern our emotional responses, our resilience to stress, our ability to form attachments, they're all being laid down and reinforced during these formative years. A child consistently exposed to chaos or neglect might develop an amygdala, our brain's alarm system, that's constantly on high alert, making them more prone to anxiety or aggression as adults. Conversely, a child raised with consistent love and security might develop stronger prefrontal cortex connections, leading to better emotional regulation and empathy. Our early experiences aren't just memories, they're blueprints etched into our very biology. Beyond our immediate family, the culture we're immersed in plays a massive role. Sapolsky explains that culture isn't just about food or festivals, it's a shared set of values, norms, and beliefs that subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, dictate how we perceive the world and how we're expected to behave. Consider cultures that prioritize individualism versus those that emphasize collectivism. In an individualistic society, asserting your personal rights might be seen as a positive trait, while in a collectivistic one, it might be viewed as disrespectful. These cultural lenses influence everything from how we express anger, to how we show respect, to what we deem acceptable or unacceptable behavior. They shape our moral compass, our sense of identity, and even our biases towards certain groups of people. Our brains are incredibly plastic, meaning they adapt and change based on our experiences, and our cultural environment provides a massive, ongoing stream of those experiences. This developmental period, stretching from childhood through adolescence and early adulthood, is also when we learn and form habits. We internalize social rules, develop coping mechanisms for stress, and build our understanding of the world. These learned patterns, both conscious and unconscious, become powerful drivers of our adult behavior. A habit of self-soothing through exercise, or a tendency to avoid conflict, can often be traced back to lessons learned and reinforced over years. Even things like implicit biases, those unconscious assumptions we make about people, are often absorbed from our cultural environment during these developmental years. Sapolsky's exploration of this personal past layer is crucial because it highlights that we are not born as blank slates. We are products of our specific histories, our unique upbringings, and the societies that have shaped us. Understanding this level of influence doesn't excuse actions, but it provides immense context. It helps us see that behind every adult behavior lies a complex story of development, learning, and cultural immersion. It's a testament to how deeply interwoven our past truly is with our present actions. So far, we've traveled from the milliseconds before an action, through the hours and days, and then across the years of a person's life and their cultural immersion. Now, Sapolsky asks us to put on our paleontologist hats and dig even deeper, to the deep time of our species. What about our evolutionary history and the very genes we carry? This is where we understand how millions of years of survival and adaptation have left an indelible mark on our behavior. Think about basic human traits that seem universal: the tendency to form groups, to protect our young, to feel fear in the face of danger, or even to find certain things beautiful. These aren't just cultural quirks, they are often rooted in our evolutionary past. Sapolsky explains that over millions of years, our ancestors faced specific challenges: finding food, avoiding predators, reproducing, and raising offspring. Behaviors that helped them survive and pass on their genes became more common. For instance, the capacity for cooperation within a group was highly advantageous for hunting large animals or defending against threats. Similarly, the innate ability to recognize and respond to facial expressions evolved because it was crucial for social bonding and predicting the intentions of others. These aren't conscious decisions we make. They're deeply ingrained tendencies, shaped by countless generations of natural selection. And then there are our genes. Sapolsky is very careful here. He's not saying our genes determine our behavior in a simplistic, deterministic way. Instead, he explains that genes influence predispositions. They can make us more or less likely to develop certain traits or react in particular ways, given specific environmental conditions. Think of genes not as a script that dictates every action, but as a vast cookbook of recipes. Which recipe gets cooked, and how it turns out, depends heavily on the ingredients and the chef, meaning our environment and experiences. For example, a gene might contribute to a temperament that makes someone more prone to novelty seeking, but whether that translates into adventurous exploration or risky addiction depends on their upbringing, cultural context, and immediate environment. Our genetic heritage provides the foundational toolkit that evolution has bestowed upon us, influencing everything from our brain structure to our hormonal systems. This long view of evolution helps us understand some of the seemingly irrational or contradictory aspects of human behavior. Why do we have such a strong us versus them mentality? Why can we be incredibly altruistic in one moment and brutally aggressive in the next? Sapolsky argues that many of these seemingly opposing forces are remnants of behaviors that were adaptive in different contexts during our evolutionary past. Our ancestors needed to be fiercely protective of their own group, the us, while being wary of outsiders, the them. They needed to cooperate for survival but also compete for resources. These are not simple answers, but they offer a profound perspective on the deep biological roots of our actions. By understanding this deep time layer, we complete Sapolsky's multifaceted picture of behavior. We see that everything, from a sudden flinch to a lifetime of moral choices, is, in some way, an echo of millions of years of adaptation and survival. It reminds us that we are biological creatures, carrying the weight and wisdom of our entire species' history within us. Alright, we've traveled a truly incredible distance today, from the blink of an eye to the dawn of our species. We've dissected behavior from the rapid firing of neurons in a single second, through the lingering effects of hormones and recent experiences over hours and days. We've delved into the profound shaping power of our childhood and culture across years, and finally, we've glimpsed the deep, ancient influences of our genes and evolutionary history over millions of years. So, what is Robert Sapolsky's ultimate message through this magnificent journey in Behave? It's this: behavior is never simple. It is never caused by just one thing, one gene, one hormone, or one childhood event. Instead, every single action, every decision, every response, whether it's an act of incredible kindness or shocking violence, is the complex, interwoven result of all these layers acting together. It's a magnificent, chaotic, and often contradictory dance of biology, environment, and personal history. This understanding has profound implications for how we view ourselves and others. When someone does something we find baffling or even horrifying, Sapolsky challenges us to resist the urge for simplistic judgment. Instead of just asking, "What did they do?" or even, "Why did they do that one thing?" he compels us to ask, "What was happening in their brain a second before? What did they eat that morning? Were they sleep deprived? What kind of childhood did they have? What cultural messages have they internalized? What evolutionary predispositions are at play?" This isn't about excusing behavior, especially harmful behavior. Sapolsky is clear on that. But it is about achieving a deeper, more nuanced understanding. When we see the vast web of causes behind an action, it fosters empathy. It helps us move away from simplistic notions of good people versus bad people, and towards recognizing the immense complexity that shapes every single human being. It means we can approach problems like crime, addiction, or social conflict not just with punishment, but with a more informed desire to address the root causes at multiple levels. Behave is more than just a science book, it's a call to intellectual humility and compassionate inquiry. It reminds us that we are biological creatures, deeply influenced by forces both ancient and immediate, but also capable of immense learning, adaptation, and choice within those frameworks. It's a powerful testament to the intricate miracle that is human behavior. And that, my friends, is just a glimpse into the incredible depth of Robert Sapolsky's Behave. This book truly changed the way I think about human nature, and I hope this summary has sparked some new insights for you too. What was the most surprising idea you took away from this discussion? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to continue exploring fascinating books that challenge your perspective, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Brainy Bookshelf, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive.